started, man. We had one of our first guests just walked into the building.
Word up, word up.
He brought me a bunch of flyers here. So we have this River City Drumbeat. Before I turn this camera around. So we had the River City Drumbeat. I've been doing some research on this, and this is actually a national performance, correct?
The movie is going national right now.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It's not, I mean, it's a national, trying to get distribution right now. So nationally, we are working the film circuit, going through the festival circuit, and really, oh yeah, look at, hey.
We good. Yeah.
Really trying to spread awareness about what we got going on.
All right, so before we get into it, introduce yourself to the people.
Good afternoon. I'm Albert Shumake, the Executive Director of the River City Drum Corps Cultural Arts Institute.
And introduce yourself.
And this is my daughter, Ella Louise.
I'm
right
feeling
here.
the hat, man. I'm feeling the hat.
Thank you. Yeah. Who made this hat, Ella? You. Yeah, I made the hats. This is my daughter. She
so you make hats?
I crochet. I sew. Yeah,
we talking out of the show. We talking out of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man of many talents.
All right, so River City Drum Corps.
Yes.
I've heard a lot about the River City Drum Corps. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not originally from Louisville. Okay. So a lot of people here, their kids grew up in the River City Drum Corps. I have some close friends that their kids grew up in the drum corps, right? But a lady named Marlene, she makes cakes. And
Marlene Carey.
Marlene Carey.
Yes.
Marlene is the first person that hit me to River City Drum Corps.
Okay.
She invited me out to a performance one time. You guys were at the Palace.
Word.
And she invited me out, and I came out and I covered it. And from that point on, I didn't realize there was a primarily black drum. Is it called a drum corps?
It's a drum line. Is what you saw at the Palace. Yeah.
Right. I didn't know there was a drum corps or drum line for black people in this city, and there is, and it's big, it's major, and it's great. So all I knew was the movie Drumline. That introduced me to black people playing drums, right?
Yes.
So from there on, give me some history on River City Drum Corps and how this thing got started.
The River City Drum Corps started in 1992 as the Parkland Drum Corps at the Parkland Boys and Girls Club in the West End on 32nd and Greenwood. Okay. So at that time, you can imagine in 92, the most popular things was probably Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, gangbanging in Arkansas. You know, people were starting to develop this street mentality that was coming more popular in our neighborhoods. And the director of the Boys and Girls Club, Mr. White, and we call him Mr. Nardi, he was focused on trying to make sure that there was equally as much arts programming in the Boys and Girls Club as there was sports programming. So
what's his name again?
Nardi.
Shout out, Mr. Nardi. He's still.
Oh yeah, he's still around. He is retired, and he's now working as an artist, and he's still teaching drums independently. He's more like an emeritus now. What he did is, I was one of the original students that helped start the drum corps. I was like the last kid on the boat from that first summer workshop. And, you know, through his mentorship and I guess you could say his tutelage, he kept, 6 or 7 of us with him all the time just to keep us from getting caught up in the street life. And he introduced us to arts and culture and knowledge of self and, just what it really meant to be a young black man in the West End and how we could exemplify the good qualities of blackness and of manhood.
Now, when I hear you say knowledge of self, is he a 5%er?
No, he's not a 5%er, but he is just somebody who understands that everything that we have been taught in our school systems and through society does not affirm who we are as black people. And so, I mean, he is I guess you could say he's a Pan-Africanist or somebody who just, who has an understanding of culture outside of just popular culture.
Okay. So 92, 93, is it 92 when he started?
92, yes.
92. So this idea stemmed from?
It stemmed from him knowing people in the arts community who wore kente cloth and told African stories and played African drums. And he grew up in Portland, so he never had exposure to that alternative lifestyle. And when he was introduced to it, he realized that it empowered him and opened up these things in his heart and his soul that made him a better person. And he wanted to give that to us.
So he wanted to give something, connect us to our cultural.
Yes.
To our African culture.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. If you don't know, you can't do. So if you don't see these things and you don't know the richness of our heritage as a people, then you never know that if you don't know we created societies and built the blueprints for the things that we use,
science.
you know, all of those things, and you think that all you are is a consumer, then that's all you will do. But if you understand that we are the original producers, the original artists, the original architects, the original scientists, then you start to realize that there's no limit on what we as a people can do. And so he wanted to make sure that he at least dropped that seed into as many children as he could. And I was one of those students.
Okay, so we're back in 92, 93. This is prior, if my memory serves me correct, this is prior to the movie Drumline, right?
Oh, this is much prior to the movie Drumline.
96 maybe?
No,
Drumline was probably 2000 something else like that. So yeah, this is way before that. You know, we started off, the drums that you see the students play like most popularly are not what the foundation of our program is. We learned how to make a modification of an African drum out of PVC pipe and cowhide, and like learn how to just put your hands and your blood and sweat into making something. And that's really what started the drum corps. Just, you know, 5 or 6 guys that wanted to express themselves creatively. And we had something that you couldn't buy at Walmart or the Guitar Center. And we just started to develop our own sounds and make our own music. You know, he put us in the care of, you know, some great teachers, people who can introduce us to different styles of music. And what started as, you know, us as five young men in his station wagon carrying around these drums, playing African beats and wearing dashikis, turned into a 28-year legacy, a nonprofit that is serving many youth throughout the city.
Okay, so let me exhale for a minute. Right? So we're talking about 5 guys that started a movement with PVC pipes, right?
That's exactly what you're talking about.
28 years later, just an estimate. I don't know if you know these raw numbers. How many kids would you say have went through this program?
Man, hundreds. Raw numbers. It's the documentation is fuzzy, but we are, you know, doing the research on that. But hundreds of kids have come through this program and been introduced to what we call the spirit of the drum.
How large is the program now?
Well, right now we have 35 students that we serve on a weekly basis, 30 families, 35 students, and we have satellite programs in Malton Elementary School, Farnsley Middle School, Nativity Academy at St. Boniface, Johnson Traditional Middle School, Olmsted Academy, you know, different churches. We do summer programs. We work with Youth Spiritus, and we're all over the city. We've been all over the world, all over the country thus far, you know, spreading the message and, you know, infecting the youth with the spirit of the drum.
Man, give a round of applause for this guy.
Man.
Give a round of applause for this guy, man.
No, don't give a round of applause for me, man. Give a round of applause for our community, man. You know, for people who have put time in to help make kids like me, because I'm just an example of that.
So, you know, a lot of people, it's bigger than just a drum line. It's an organization.
Well, we use the drum as the hook to connect the students to academic success, to culture, to family values, to life skills. The drum is in all of us. We all got this heartbeat, this longing for that consistent rhythm that controls our life. But, you know, whether or not a student becomes a musician or a performer, they will understand the discipline that it takes to complete a task, to work together, to build something from nothing. And that's the most important thing.
Man, let me tell you something, man. You are the reason, you are, I don't want to tell a lie here. You were the first guest that we've had on this show that is the personification of this show. And we've had a lot of guests on this show.
Word.
And when I say that is that I have this thing that I discuss with everybody, right? That as black people, as African Americans, as black people being born and raised in America,
yes,
we have been taught and cultured to respect and appreciate everyone else's culture except for ours. And I'll go a little bit further that our culture has almost been a taboo. And I'll give you an example. Like when me growing up being the color I am, right? Being a dark-skinned male, I grew up being called an African booty scratcher or something. And what I'm saying is that the joke didn't hurt me, but as I got older, is recognizing the negative connotation to Africa. That African was something to be ashamed of, or African was something to be belittled, or Africans weren't as cultured or as educated as the rest of the world, right? And we have a culture that predates slavery in America. We come from somewhere else.
Yes.
And when you just think about math and sciences, right? And if you're familiar with any of the teachings of the Moors, or you're familiar with anything in African culture, I tell everyone, at least if you don't get to visit, at least study the pyramids in Egypt. And when you look back in Egypt and you see the scientifically crafted, do you know the mathematical skills and the scientific engineering it took to create these pyramids in a time with no modern equipment, without scales, without cranes, without, and they're still wondering to this day, like how were these things created?
Yeah, they still trying to figure out.
Right, but this is all from Africa. This is all from the continent of Africa.
And they got these documentaries that what is it? Hidden Colors.
Right. Hidden Figures, I think.
Hidden Colors is the actual documentary. Okay. It's been the plan of the people who are teaching us to hide these things from us.
Right.
And if we don't know it, then we can never be as great as we actually are. And that's what Mr. White saw from the jump, from the first day I met him. That was his approach. And that's our approach right now, to combat popular culture that does not value our greatness, that does not value the things that we've contributed to the world. And we got to be the ones to promote that, because every other culture promotes their greatness. They preserve their greatness.
And hide their failures.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I was listening to a brother, I'm going to say that. I was listening to a podcast I listened to yesterday. And the brother was like, man, do you notice in black culture, we make our dysfunction sound great. We're a group of people that we'll brag about the murder rate in my city is higher than yours, or you know what I mean, or now that we feel we're in a gangster, or for the females maybe a thought culture or whatever you want to call it, right? Yeah. We'll brag about our dysfunction to the point that we have young people growing up replicating that and living their lives based on that. Or we're a culture that will brag about. I don't need a man to have a baby. You know what I mean? When we need both of me and T talk about this a lot, and it takes two parents, to raise a kid. But you have men that have that, mentality, and women as well. And when we look back 20-something years, we look at it's been a failure. It's been a failure. We have percentage rate, more people in prison. We have more people in criminal activity. We have more people that have dysfunctional households based on, you go back 30 years, because you go back to the 60s, people think that we were, as a black family, we were always this way. It's not true. You go back to 1968, black households in America had the highest percentage of marriage rates. We had our grandparents and everybody were married. You know what I mean? We had the highest percentage rates in 1968. You flip to 1988, we're at the bottom.
That's because some of the weddings back in the day were shotgun weddings.
But they were together, right? They were together. But what I'm saying is that you go 20 years later and the marriage rate, we're at the bottom, right? Then you look at the last 20 or 30 years of the production of kids. It's been a failed experiment. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. When we gonna get that through our head that it takes two. It takes two educated individuals, not two dysfunctional individuals.
Educated, it takes two
academic.
Dedicated
right.
individuals, dedicated to the preservation of the family, man, dedicated to the growing of a child, because, I'm a father. The most important thing to me is that my daughter gets a better shot than I got, that she gets better opportunities, more exposure. Because if I'm great and the things that I've been able to experience have made me great, then I need to double, triple, quadruple that for her so that she can have that opportunity. And we get caught up into the social media, into the entertainment, into the sports. into what religion is or isn't doing, what, what the government is or isn't doing, when we really have the power amongst ourselves. And that's, what the drum corps teaches us. From 8 years old, Mr. White introduced us to the Nguzu Saba, which is the 7 principles of blackness that is celebrated in the Kwanzaa celebration. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. Do you know the 7 principles?
Do I know the 7 principles?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Umoja means unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kujichagulia means self-determination, to define ourselves, name ourselves, and speak for ourselves instead of being defined, named for, or spoken for by others. Ujima is a collective work and responsibility to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. Ujamaa is cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Nia means purpose, to understand that we all come from something and we all have something to do to fulfill that purpose. Imani means faith, to believe in the struggles of the people who have come before us and the victories that they've been able to have, and the higher power that has enabled us to have those. Those principles is what the foundation of the drum corps is about. Those are the things that we're teaching our students. It's bigger than picking up a pair of sticks and being able to play an instrument, but it's more about understanding that these principles can empower us to create this community that you speak of, that we used to have, this lifestyle, this greatness that we come from.
Give me a history lesson on the last day of Black History Month.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. And you know what? Hey, look,
Hey, a lot of people don't know that.
And I didn't know it. So look, I'm gonna be honest. Outside of seeing Kwanzaa on a McDonald's commercial,
Right.
I didn't know the fundamentals of Kwanzaa. I know it's not celebrated as much as it was in the 80s and 90s, and I didn't know there were principles behind Kwanzaa.
When the more you know, look that little thing.
I learned something today. I learned something today.
And that's what it's about, because you can learn music at a school. You can learn music, you can get on YouTube, but you can find this information everywhere. But the ancient tradition is that we have to be the people that preserve it and pass it on. So if I don't tell it, then you don't get it. So I'm glad I could drop that on you, man. But it's important for each of us to have an understanding of that. Each culture has those principles that they build their foundation upon, and we've done the same thing.
All right, let's get back to why you're here. I can talk to you all day. Like, have you up here on another day for a different.
Definitely.
Okay, so we have Flyover Films Festival presents River City Drumbeat.
Right.
And this is at the Louisville Palace, March 15th.
Word up.
2 p.m. Doors open at 2. The movie starts at 3.
Yes.
Tickets are $12 for adults, $5 for youth, and youth means someone 16. Oh, that's pretty high scale for youth, too, because most people cut it off at 12. So 16 and
for
under.
the people, man.
16 and under. So there's a post-screening celebration hosted by the River City Drum Corps and, am I saying this right, Owsley Brown?
Yes, Owsley Brown presents. So the film was a passion project by Owsley Brown, a philanthropist who is the son of the Brown Foreman family, actually the grandson. So if you go to any major building in the city, university, museum, his family has part of the endowment. You might see their name on the cornerstone of a building or the nameplate. This library was sponsored by the Brown family. Okay. So through their accumulation of wealth, he has started his company, and his company produces art films about organizations all over the world. Actually, he has a film about the music school in Haiti. He's done projects with Teddy, I can't think of his name right now. That is the Teddy Abrams, the conductor of the Louisville Orchestra. Okay. So, 3 years ago, he sent his production crew to our Kwanzaa celebration to start what they were thinking was going to be a small documentary about our organization and the work that we do. When they were introduced to the 7 principles and saw all of the students who were coming back that were finishing college or bringing their families back to celebrate the Kwanzaa celebration with us, they wanted to know how we had something that was so strong within the community but so unknown. So they followed us for 2 years. myself, Mr. White, the founder, a few students in the program who were in the process of graduating high school and going to college, and some kids who are going through that middle school age where, you know, that's the most difficult time for a young student, finding out who they are and how they're going to continue to fit in at the school system and in society so that they can be successful. So it really tells the story of Mr. White's mentorship to me, but his mentorship to so many other kids who have had the same opportunities in this program. And it's a story of service. It's a story of music, of love, and of legacies, you know, because what he started 28 years ago, he got to a point where his wife, Zambia Nkrumah, who was one of my mentors, my godmother, the woman who introduced me to some of the finer things in life that I was not getting at home. Mm-hmm. She was one of the ladies who was an advocate for me to say, just because he speaks differently or acts differently in the classroom does not mean that he is not redeemable. Okay. And, you know, that helped me to create a path for myself to be successful as I am today. And the film tells the story about us through that small population of people in our program. Okay, so who are you the writer? Are you the person that wrote this movie? No, man. The story wrote itself. Marlon Johnson and Ann Flatte are the directors of the film. Okay. Marlon is out of Miami, Florida, and Ann Flatte is out of San Francisco. So they're filmmakers. We just gave them our lives, and they took and whittled it down into the story that you're going to see. So let me get this correct. So the story of the River City Drumbeat includes the stories of students and yourself from the River City Drum Corps? Yes. Okay. Because I've seen this when I looked it up. It premiered, I think, in maybe Orlando or Miami. In New York City, actually. We went to the New York City Documentary Film Festival, okay, which is the largest film festival in the United States. And they were excited about the stories that we were telling and the characters in the film, the impact of the program. And they felt that the world needed to see that. And that sparked what is now, a really huge opportunity for our organization to get some national recognition and go all across the country to spread the message. Okay, well, I'm going to say this then. Louisville, I'm going to be on you for this one. There you go. Because this is something that the city needs to get behind and support. So I expect these tickets to sell out. We need to. This needs to sell out. This is something that, and we complain, we're kind of, I guess, the eyes and ears of our community. So we hear the complaints, right? And a lot of the complaints in our community now is that what happened to the arts? They've taken the arts out of our schools. And a lot of parents are concerned that the arts programs have been cut from schools over the past 15, 20 years. This is a program that celebrates the arts, and this movie is a celebration is a story of the arts. And I think a lot of kids, I think you would be able to attest to this, a lot of kids learn differently or able to learn once they get involved in arts. And you're able to teach them other things once their ears and eyes are open for the arts, correct? You are speaking the truth. Arts make a total person. For a kid that has difficulty reading or difficulty speaking, a speech pathologist can use song to introduce consonants and vowels and vocal inflection. If a child that has difficulty walking can learn to stand up straight through dance and through movement. Art is one of those things that throughout the history of society has strengthened us. And yeah, it's known that schools don't focus on the arts anymore. But now let's go a little further. When it comes to drum beats, right? Drum beats were our culture of Africans. So the drum beat, what did the drum beat represent? Do you know what the drum beat represented for African tribes? Man, yes. The drum is one of those things that is multifaceted. It's used to communicate. It's used to celebrate. It's used to clear the air. You can imagine being in a village and having 100 drummers together playing these different rhythms because if you in a country like Africa, on the continent of Africa, think of all of the different languages and the different cultures of people. But music is one of those things that can connect people. There is no the language of the drum is universal. So the rhythms and the signification of what was played helped to present a clear message. Something is about to happen. We are celebrating. Let's get ready for war. We need to chill. We need to get ready to, we're celebrating somebody becoming a man or going off into this next stage of their life. So the drum was used for all of those things. And when we were brought to this country, they took our drum away and they mixed us all up. So those people that we had our original languages with, we didn't know how to communicate. And then they took our drums, and if you got caught drumming or got caught trying to communicate, they would cut your hands off, or you possibly be killed for going against what they were trying to erase. And that's why the drum is so important.
Hey, let me tell you, some of these, it is. And even though they took away our drums, right? And I didn't realize this. I think I don't know. I think a course at U of L, and some of those Negro spirituals that slaves used when they were escaping, like say for example, when they were escaping through Harriet Tubman or some other, they would use these songs that the slave master or people, they had slave catchers that were out to capture slaves, right? They would use these songs that were spirituals, but they were actual instructions.
Yes.
So example, when you say like there's a song called "Follow the Drinking Gourd," that was following the Big Dipper.
Yeah,
so that was leading you to freedom to go north, right?
Yeah,
so we use the arts throughout our struggle, throughout our existence. Sean, you have something to say?
No, I'm just listening. This is education, so
but I mean, that's how embedded the arts are in our DNA.
Our people. Yeah, like call and response, just the way we communicate. This is in our DNA, man. It goes back to the beginning of society. It goes back to the beginning of the world, and yeah, there's coded language in those songs. That's what allowed us to evade the slave catchers. That's what allowed us to have a connection to a spiritual connection, a connection to the earth, and a connection to God. Because we have to be so incredible to make it through so many difficult things as a people, and saying difficult does it a disservice. I'm talking about genocide. We're talking about just the complete eradication of a culture and of the trying to eradicate the power of our race.
Man, look at the strength. When you talk about strength of what I guess we call African Americans now, but African people, period. Just think of the significance of this. When Europeans came to this nation was filled with what we know now are Native Americans. Native Americans, they were here. So there were more Native Americans than Africans shipped in here. That group of people has been virtually extinct. They've been massacred to the point that they're only on reservations and maybe New Mexico and Utah and those areas like that, right? So you have people that were shipped in, Africans that were shipped in at lesser numbers, and we're still here after slavery, after mass murder, after the crack era, after mass incarceration. We are still here when most people wouldn't have survived that type of trauma.
Powerful. That's the only way to put it, man.
Is our next guest here?
Yeah, our next guest.
All right, but we got to wrap this thing up, man.
Oh, man, thank y'all. Check it out one more time. You mind?
No, go ahead.
City. Everybody around, everybody in your neighborhood. I'm talking Park Duval, I'm talking Park Hill, I'm talking the East End, Shively, Newburgh, wherever you from, somebody that's come through this program. You've seen us, whether it be in the parade or at your church or on the news. These young people are dispelling the myth of what popular culture says that we are and what we do. Come out and see this story about how we've been able to change this city and change these families. The film is March 15th. Doors open at 2 p.m. Show starts at 3 p.m. at the Louisville Palace Theater.
Is that a Saturday?
It's a Sunday.
Sunday, okay.
It's a Sunday. So, you go to church, get you a meal, and make your way right on down to the Palace. Parking is not that expensive on the weekend. This is a cheap ticket, $12, $5 for everybody 16 and under. I'll see to it that we can get the links up on this live feed and on the site. Thank y'all for inviting me out. Definitely.
Most definitely. Louisville, March 15th. These tickets are only $12.
Oh yeah,
that's a meal.
That's a you know. And if that's an issue, then find us. We'll make sure you get in there. You know, we want the Palace hosts 2,500 people. Our goal is to fill it up. You never know who needs to see this film that can help change the path or the course for another child through what is translated through our story.
March 12th.
March 15th.
March 15th. You know what? I'm going to say right here, I'm going to buy 10 tickets to give away.
Man.
I'm going to buy 10 tickets today.
Boom.
To give away.
We got 10 of them right now. They on deck, man. That's beautiful. Thank you.
10 tickets. Louisville, I expect you to come out and support. $12 tickets. You got to spend that on 2 pieces and a biscuit. You do. I mean, you do. It's $12. A lunch or a dinner is $12. If you have kids, it's only what, $5?
$5.
$5 for kids. And that kids meaning 16 and under.
Yes.
So your teens, 16 and under, $12. We have 10 tickets that we're going to give away on this show. So we're going to buy 10 tickets today.
Bless you.
You have a cash app or something like that we can see?
Don't everybody?
Okay. So
yeah.
Louisville
River City Drum Corps on Facebook, just like it sounds. Louisville River City Drum Corps. Follow us so you can see what we have going on. And the event is Flyover Film Festival presents the River City Drumbeat movie.
And there is a website on here that says www.rivercitydrumbeatmovie.com.
Yes, you can get all your information there. Check out the trailer. Tell a friend, tell your cousin, your auntie, your neighbor. Let's pack the palace. And thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, people.
Thank y'all very
Make sure
much.
you share this live. Tell a friend about it. And we'll be back in a couple seconds with our next guest.
Peace.